You can't tell whether I've got a black armband on because I'm just in sort of black or blue or something. But welcome to the Gun Room. With me are the Podcateers. Jay, how are you?
Yep, all good, all good.
Mitch, how are you?
Not too bad.
Any more on this writing gig?
I
just to lift the spirits.
Yeah, I got to publish a thread this week on my Twitter with a Q&A with Nigel Winterburn, who played left back for Arsenal in the 80s and 90s. Very cool opportunity that I got to do. It's my pinned tweet right now on my Twitter account at Mitch Piotr. So go ahead and check that out. It was really cool to get that kind of opportunity.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Any sort of dramatic expose answers that none of us would know?
Yeah, I mean, nothing crazy.
I
asked him about like advice he'd give to Nuno Tavares, and I think that was a really like insightful answer, considering you could say he was in somewhat of a similar position when he first arrived at Arsenal, of like not playing much and kind of being a young kind of like reserve kind of player. And I think he gave a very insightful response with that. I'm really appreciative for all the answers he gave me. It's cool to get that kind of opportunity.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, it's another sad podcast, isn't it? Another defeat. It doesn't tell the entire story. It comes at a time when we had the upper hand. We had games in hand. It was all looking rosy in the garden, and suddenly we're falling by the wayside big time. 3 naff results clumped together. It feels like the beginning of the season again. Let's look at the team first. Ramsdale, Cedric, White, Gabriel, Tavares, Lokonga, Xhaka, Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, and Nketiah. Jay, happy with that lineup? Not that we had much choice, but you know.
Yeah, well, you just you basically we haven't too many options again. The squad is just so thin, and happy with the team, I suppose. So I didn't want to see Lacazette up front, but the alternative for me is not that much better. So yeah, all in all, I was glad Tavares was playing. But yeah, nothing really to add. We're just threadbare, and it just shows. So yeah, I was happy though, I suppose.
That's the perfect word, isn't it? Threadbare. That's where we're at this time of the season. Mitch, any sort of alarm bells ringing in your ears with that little lineup?
I was really happy with the lineup. I was thinking that Arteta would probably go Xhaka left back again based on his comments earlier in the week. I'm really pleased that he didn't do that. And on top of that, I'm really pleased that both Nuno and Nketiah, who both got opportunities this week, I don't think that they were the reason we lost by any means. In Eddie Nketiah in particular, I thought was very, very bright. I had some really, really good moments when I was rewatching the match today. I was specifically focusing on him because I've written something that's going to be coming out a little bit later this week about him, because I thought he was very bright. I think, and every single time that we've seen him this season, he's shown a lot more than what we've kind of like have this picture of Eddie Nketiah, where he's just kind of just this fox in the box. I think his movement's been really good, especially laterally. Offering a lot more with that than Lacazette does, where he's just dropping deep. And we saw times in the game where he was rotating with Saka or with Martinelli, popping up in different areas, and was really kind of a variable member of the attack, as well as making some really good runs off the shoulder of the last defender, that I think was really, really effective. And this variability at striker, at the very least, will offer more than Lacazette has been doing for the last couple of months. And I see no reason why he should be dropped right now.
Well, we're cracking to the game a little bit. After 3 defeats, it's heavy going, isn't it, when you're podcasting? So let's have a look at the stats. Southampton, 9 shots. Arsenal, 23. Shots on target for Southampton, 3. Arsenal, 6. I mean, we should have breezed this, really. I could have gone on to more possession and passing and all that sort of thing. But yet again, we've had possession. We've done absolutely nothing with it. We've had chances, but we haven't put them away. What's your overall impression of the game, Jay?
Oh, I mean, to be honest, I only caught the last 20 minutes or so of it, and I'm not going to put myself through it again. So I decided not to revisit it. We've just got this ability to against teams that are in such a bad run, we always seem to just, or we have this ability to fill them with confidence. You know, we don't seem to be able to get any sort of result at them. We can't score. Okay, we had 20 or so shots, but I mean, Forster made some good saves. There's no doubt about that. But we can't score. You know, like I get what Mitch is saying about, you know, certain aspects of Nketiah's game might be better than, or he might be doing more than we think. But first and foremost, for me, a striker's got to score, and he's got it doesn't matter who it is for us. We need goals, and we need somebody to start scoring, and we just can't do it. And Southampton, just like Brighton the week before, on a bad run, been absolutely demolished by Chelsea, and they come up against us, and it's a fairly straightforward result for them. You know, we were chasing the game at the end, and there was a lot of backwards and sideways passing, and it was easy again, and it was easy for Southampton to defend against. You know, I'm sure we'll get onto the chances, but you know, there was the Smith Rowe chance where he sort of miskicked it, and Forster made a save towards the end. But it was just a lot of getting to the edge of the box, and Southampton just repelling us, and it going back, and then going to the edge of the box, and we just didn't have any ideas, and we just looked like a team that we've run out of steam with 10 games to go. You know, and you know, it's not just down to certain injuries now. For me, it's the players that we were relying upon have played maybe too much football, and you know, your Sakas and your Smith Rowes and your Erdegaards, they're trying. Don't get me wrong; they're putting a shift in, but you know, it also has something to do with being found out a little bit tactically. Teams are shutting us down in areas where we weren't being shut down earlier in the season. But like I was just saying, that the players that we were relying upon, and we have relied upon all season, I think they're just run out of steam, you know. And it was a big disappointment. And I saw it. I don't know if you guys saw it earlier. There was a video knocking around on Twitter of Redmond being interviewed by, or being a supporter asked him, you know, what do you feel good about beating Arsenal? When he just turned around and said, they're not very good, are they? And he's right. You know, we're not very good at the moment. You know, probably not as bad as some people are making out, but we're just, for me, we've just ran out of steam with 9 or 10 games to go, and it's difficult to see where we're going to get a result next. You know, because the games are tough, aren't they? So yeah, disappointing.
We look very pedestrian, very one-dimensional. But Mitch, do you think this was a better performance than the previous two? I thought there was a little bit more on offer, more chances created, but it wasn't exactly the Arsenal that we want to see, is it?
Yeah, I mean, all three of these performances are far from what we're used to seeing this season, which, I mean, shows how far we've come. We've been a very good team this season. It's unfortunate this run of form is happening right now. Yeah, I mean, a lot of these stats, like where we're dominating these games, like we've out XG'd our opponents for the last 3 matches. Like a lot of these are game state. We're conceding early, and there's some sort of block where we, other than the Wolves match where we came back from down 1-0, we haven't been able to overcome that. So it's these like kind of like fluky against the run of play goals that are happening, and then not being able to come back from that. So it's something in the team that needs to improve, that we need to work on to get over that hump, to be able to come back from going down early, because it's going to happen. That's inevitable. And we need to be a team that can perform like that in the Wolves game, because that was a Champions League performance. This was not. So yeah, I mean, we've just got to figure ourselves out. We've got tough 2 matches this week. If we can bounce back in these, we still got a fighting chance for top 4. If not, like 5th is nothing to scoff at. I think it's still a progression of the team. We've just got to make sure we finish there, because if we keep letting it slide, then we might end up in 8th again, and no one wants that.
Do you think it's time to roll the dice and maybe try someone new up front like Beereth? Do you think it's time to just throw caution to the wind? Because what we're doing currently, there's no surprise. We've got no game changers on the bench. We're not fluid enough, are we? From back to front, it's a cobbled up patchwork quilt of a team that's threadbare, as you said, Jay. Is it time to just throw caution to the wind?
No, I like I said last week, I don't really want to see any academy players coming into the side in the next couple of weeks. I don't think anyone from our academy is ready to just be thrown in. All the academy players on our bench is just kind of making up numbers right now. There's not really an expectation that any of them will play. Bar like Lacazette, Martinelli, and Nketiah all getting COVID. Even then, I don't think Beereth starts. I still think that we move in some other direction. And I mean, like I was saying, I think Eddie has changed a lot and was a little bit more variable than Lacazette's been. Obviously, we didn't get a goal out of it, but I still think that he's a bit of a change of pace. And I don't think that you necessarily have to make huge changes to get huge changes. I think that consistency can also get that as well. Like getting Sambi and Nuno and Nketiah more minutes, these players that haven't played all that much, they're going to grow more into the game. Upon rewatching the game, like Sambi looked very smooth on the ball. Like he looked much more assured than he did in the past 2 matches. And that confidence is only going to keep growing, especially for Nuno, especially for Nketiah, as they get more minutes and they kind of grow into this team like everyone else has throughout the entire season. I think Martin Odegaard didn't have a great start to this season, but he grew into becoming one of our best players for 3 months. And now that we're hitting a little bit of this slow streak, he's hitting a little bit of a slump as well. But like I think that this team is going to, like, our average age only got younger in this last match because we lost a 30-year-old for a 22-year-old. Xhaka was the only player like over the age of like 24 in our lineup this weekend. That's crazy. Like we have to expect this young team to like falter, and so it's happening. And they need to bounce back. They chose a tough time to need to bounce back when you're playing Chelsea midweek and then United on the weekend. But it's the situation we're in. If we're going to make top 4, we're going to get results here. If not, well, we're growing.
Jay, Mitch doesn't like that idea. I just thought I'd sling it out there because it is a suggestion that's kind of supporters are looking for someone to bridge that gap, the Aubameyang gap, if you like. Would you consider Martinelli in the middle, which has been suggested time after time after time, or Pepe, and kind of flip them both? What do you think, Jay?
The supporter in me wants to see that, because at the moment we've got nobody who's scoring up front. We've got and we haven't had whether it's Lacazette or Nketiah, doesn't matter who's played there recently, they haven't got a goal between them. So your striker is there to score goals ultimately, and I agree with everything Mitch was saying about giving these players more minutes and building and progressing and these players maybe getting a few more chances. But at the end of the day, we're at the business end of the season, and we're very lucky that those in and around us are as bad as we are, but it won't happen. It will just be it will be Nketiah. If I was manager, I'd probably try something a bit different, just because 3 defeats in a row, surely doesn't that indicate something's not quite right? We haven't been scoring. But I mean, Mikel, he sees, Mikel and his coaching team see these players week in, week out. He hasn't fancied Pepe all season, has he? So he's not. I just don't think he fancies him. He doesn't like him. And as a striker, I can't see that. But Martinelli, maybe, but I think he is just going to persist with Nketiah now. I think it's just as a supporter, you just maybe want to see Mikel go a little bit, go down a slightly different path, because it seems sometimes the only time that ever seems to happen is if he's forced into a change rather than being proactive, and looking at the team and maybe trying something a bit different for the sake of going out to win games. I don't know. It's a tough one. I mean, Beereth, he looks good, but he's not ready, is he? He's not ready at all. But Martinelli, maybe.
Silent Dave called this a magnolia performance with a few splashes of colour. Can't help but agree with that. It was more evidence of poor finishing. Someone said to me that they were sick and tired of excuses, and that Fraser Forster, basically, just because he had a good game, Arsenal should still be scoring past him. But he had an exceptional game. I reckon we could have had 4 or 5 if it wasn't for him. A 34-year-old who hasn't exactly hit the limelight, but he's been a really good, solid professional. You can't take away his performance, can you, in this game?
We always seem to come up against these performances, don't we? I don't know if I said at the time, back in the day, it used to be Mike Taylor at Birmingham. He always used to have a stormer against us, and Jaskalainen at Bolton, he always used to have a stormer. We just seem to come up against these performances. He played well, but better finishing and we score. Better, slightly calmer mind frame in front of goal, and I think we do score. But yeah, he played well. He's a good keeper. He's a big guy, and he's steady.
We'll look at the minuses. Obviously, we're going through that as we go, but let's offer some crumbs of comfort. Could you see any crumbs of comfort, Mitch, for our podcast family?
Yeah, totally. I mean, like I said earlier, I think that Nuno and Nketiah were both really bright. I think Nuno in particular playing far from bad gives us at least some tactical stability where we're not forcing ourselves to put Xhaka at left back to hinder us in the midfield. I think Sambi looked really smooth. I think he's growing into the role a lot more. It was interesting. We still saw a bit of the 4-3-3 prior to the first sub. Xhaka was still playing really high in that left half space. So it's interesting that we're keeping that kind of shape. And I think Sambi had a pretty good game. I don't think any of our players necessarily had terrible games, is the thing.
I might disagree with you there.
The goal happened, the goal wasn't necessarily it wasn't like one player messed up terribly. It was like a goal against the run of play. Southampton did not have that many opportunities, bar set pieces that they scored off of. And it's just more of an issue of finishing. Forrester had a great game, but Saka could have placed his shot better. Smith Rowe could have gotten a better hit on the ball. Far from a good performance, but far from a terrible one from the team. So there's some okay things that we can take from it.
Yeah, I agree. Sambi, he looked silky smooth. I noticed there was a bit of a backlash on social media, where else, and saying that he was absolutely rubbish and Arsenal should sell him. I think if you can't see what that guy is delivering, what he's capable of, and he's also got on his kind of reference book, Vincent Kompany and Thierry Henry. So they're, those two guys in particular must see something that no one else can see, surely.
Kompany called him the next Yaya. If you can't see the clear talent that Sambi Lokonga has, then I don't know what player you're watching. He's had some bad performances, he's had some bad plays, misplaced passes, whatever. He's a young player coming from Anderlecht to the Premier League. Yeah, obviously there's going to be a period of getting used to the flow of the game. It's a lot different, and he's growing into himself, and he's showing it. We're growing past glimpses of Sambi being really good, into Sambi just being good. I don't know if he'll reach what Thomas has been this season at the very least, but he's far from a bad replacement to come in to play the 6 role. I think especially when you have Xhaka with him in midfield and you don't kind of leave him alone. Like I think some of his worst performances have come when he's really isolated with Smith Rowe and Odegaard being the 2 8s in front of him. And it's like, yeah, obviously he's going to be a little bit more exposed because he's expected to do what like some of the best defensive midfielders in the world do, which is like hold down a midfield by yourself. Like he's not Fabinho yet, he's not Rodri, like, but he's a really, really talented player. And if you just watch him, you will see how good he is.
Yeah, I really rate him. I said in about another 18 months, we'll be having to hang on to him. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I like him. Yeah, he's a good player. He's pretty solid. It's just like I say, I didn't see too much of the game, so I'll leave it to you guys for a bit more of a detailed.
Well, we won't be going down that avenue. I'll tell you that. The goal by Benderak, 44 minutes, was another shit show in the defence. Sorry, Jay, we lost you for a bit there.
Okay.
Yet again, I think what's happening is the lines are dissolving as the opposition makes an attack. We kind of just all drop back, and it's not a solid line. They're not looking to close down space or get rid of the ball. And for me, it was a real another easy goal. So much room for him to strike the ball through. There were suggestions that Ben White was a bit slow because he actually went off the pitch and then came on again, and that he could have been quicker coming on. But it was virtually a free shot. Southampton were solid and organised. Obviously, Jay, you mentioned that game against Chelsea, 6-0. When you look at that, we've got to be nervous going to Stamford Bridge, haven't we, in this game with Chelsea?
Absolutely. It's a tough game, regardless. They're a good side, right? They've got world-class players. They're coming off an exit from the Champions League, which is obviously going to hurt them. And yeah, it's a tough game. And we wanted, ultimately we knew going into it, we needed to get something out of the previous games. And obviously we haven't now. So, I mean, it's difficult to see what, us getting a result, right? I think we'll all agree at that, surely. But you'd take a draw, take anything, wouldn't you, other than a defeat? So, but it is, we're going to have to be much better than we have been in the previous 3 games, right?
It's going to be a hell of a tough gig, but this is what Arsenal do. They disappoint, don't they? At times when you think it's going to be easy, they make it incredibly hard. And when you got the incredibly hard, impossible gig, it kind of turns into something else. That's what I'm kind of looking at and hoping for, because at the end of this weekend, we could have dropped 15 points. Mitch, optimism, please. You're our optimistic man.
We're still only 3 points behind Spurs, and we have a game in hand. So if we do get a result against Chelsea, the gap closes a little bit, and our road to the end of the season gets easier because we'll have passed the Chelsea game. So Chelsea's a really good team. They're having some injury crisis of their own. They looked very flimsy against Brentford when they were at a back 4. Obviously they were very, very good against Southampton. You can't ignore that game by any means. But like at the end of the day, we have a talented team that can win. Like we can win this game. This is not a game that we go into and we're like, there's no way. There's like 0 chance we win this game, because we won away at Stamford Bridge last season with a worse team. We matched them up with a 3-4-3 and made them make a mistake on that Smith Rowe goal. If I don't think we will go with the same system tactically of trying to match them up and playing kind of conservative and trying to force a mistake. But we have the ability to play really well, and we have the ability to win this game. And if we do, it puts us in a really good position. I don't know if I anticipate us to win this game, but it's far from a sure thing going into it. I mean, it's very easy to be pessimistic when you lose 3 straight matches. I don't know how it hasn't broken me yet. I don't know how I'm like, yeah, we could beat Chelsea, the team that's in third, the team that just won 6-0 against the team we lost to. But I mean, there's no easy matches in the Premier League in any game, including for Chelsea. So we can win this. I'm not exactly confident, but if we do, it puts us in a really good spot.
I think we need a bit of the old George Graham mentality. We need to get through that first half, keep it nice and tight and all the rest of it, and hope for something spectacular in the second half when they're kind of getting frustrated and things like that. For me, this game was a tale of 2 defenders, because I thought that Nuno Tavares looked nearly back to his best. He was quite solid. He was energetic going forward. I liked his movement. I liked his directness. The other person I'm going to highlight is Ben White. I thought it wasn't a great performance by Ben White. I think for me personally, it was quite a bland performance and not befitting his price tag. I'd still like to see him cut loose and start playing that ball out a lot more. But he seems to, maybe it's a nervous thing. We can't break out from the back because we're not very good at the back, Jay.
Yeah, we can't break out. I mean, we've lost our best midfielder, and somebody that drops deep, collects the ball, and can basically take the ball forward like no other midfielder that we have. Partey's ability, we've spoke about it, and we are missing him, absolutely no doubt. Confidence is low throughout, though, isn't it? The confidence is low within the whole squad, and it's bound to be when you've lost 3 on the bounce and not scored. But this is where Mikel's got to earn his pennies, and they've got to get on the training ground and try something new. I think we just need to we need to hope that at Stamford Bridge one goes in off Nketiah's arse, and then we defend for the next 89 minutes, and we manage to get a result, because it looks like that's what it's going to take, isn't it? We can't see anything else. We just need a lucky win or a lucky goal and defend well, and then the confidence is restored. I'm not as optimistic as Mitch, but I think me and Tom, we've said that before, haven't we? So I'm not holding out much hope, to be honest, but it isn't impossible. But we're going to have to defend a hell of a lot better than we have been, and Ben White's going to have to step up, but he's got it in his locker. Like Mitch said, we are a better team than what we've been showing, results wise anyway. So you live in hope that we can deliver.
Well, did you see Arteta's press conference? He looked quite buoyant still. He said, we've still got our belief and all our aims and our goals, and we're just going to go with that. But to the best of us,
we're super lucky that Spurs got beat, and United just scraped past Norwich. We are very fortunate that the rest in and around us have been that they're as bad as we are. It could be a lot worse, couldn't it? We could be in a lot worse situation.
Yeah, there could be daylight between us, couldn't it?
Yeah, we could be much further down.
Just got to ask you, lads. I'm going to ask this pertinent question. Cedric taking free kicks. Jay,
he must be rattling him in training. He must be rattling him in.
I don't understand why we keep doing it. Because I think he may have gotten a couple of assists off corners doing it so far this season when he's played. But if I can remember correctly, all of our best free kicks and corners have all come from Smith Rowe or Saka or Odegaard. Pretty sure the only person to score from a direct free kick is Odegaard. So why the hell is everyone else taking them except for him? Why is Cedric taking a cross? And if there's a free kick that's in his area, far back on the right side of the field, I kind of understand putting a deep ball in, I think it makes sense for him to take it. But like the one that he was taking where it was like basically a short corner on the edge of the 18, like why is he taking it there? And then he puts it behind. Like, how do you not at least try to put something in play? It does not make sense that he keeps taking those free kicks and corners. I don't understand why he's doing it. He obviously is putting in crazy stuff during training because we're not really seeing it during matches.
Spanish Michael, you need to have a word with yourself and stop him doing it, because I've written some notes here and it says he's not the type of player that can go forward like Tierney or Tomiyasu, so he doesn't provide the same threat there. He hasn't got the creativity or eye or class of Odegaard. I'm going to give him my turnip award for this match because I think he's rapidly being found out very, very quickly. I'd even go with a back three so that we don't even have to have him. That's how desperate it's becoming. Jay, we had our chances in this game. We couldn't make them count. What was the best chance that you came across out this sorry hash?
Yeah, it was, Saka's chance was the most obvious one, and that, obviously like we touched on earlier, Smith Rowe's chance as well was I think pretty straightforward too. But the Saka chance, he should have scored, shouldn't he? You know, he's what 5 yards out. You know, he should score, but wasn't meant to be. Just so frustrating.
Mitch, do you think the youngsters are getting tired? Saka and Smith Rowe getting worn out?
It wouldn't surprise me. They play a lot of minutes, and we don't really have a lot of depth at the moment. So yeah, it wouldn't shock me, but I don't think we can necessarily chalk all of it up to that. I think it's probably a lot of different factors. Just, you know, form. We're late in the year. Probably is, you know, playing a lot of minutes, but this isn't the first time Saka's played a lot of minutes. I think he probably will have played a similar amount to what he did last season. And that was definitely the clearest chance that we had. Like, it was when it was 0-0 still. That was the chance to kind of absolutely control the tempo for the rest of the game. And it was disappointing he didn't put that away because I feel like he could have probably done a better finish. It was a good save by Forster, but it was in an easier position than it could have been for
if he had just kept it low, it would have been in the back of that net. Right, 3 massive games ahead: Chelski, United, and West Ham. If we don't get 7 points out of that, and Tottenham do what they're doing currently, apart from the Spursy bit here and there, surely it's got to be over for us, because this run-in doesn't get any easier. We've still got the North London derby to come. I don't want to believe, until it's mathematically impossible, I'm still with the cause. But these games, we've got to get something out of them. How many points do you see out of those 3 games?
I've got to be realistic. I don't think we'll get anything out of Chelsea. I think we will. I think we'll beat Man United, and the West Ham game's tough. You know, they're still in Europe, but I'd say it's at their place, isn't it? It's away against West Ham. I haven't got much confidence in the minute, so I'm probably going to go. I'm going to go draw at West Ham. So 4. Doesn't seem much. It's not enough. It's not enough, is it? But I can't.
That's going to put us on the back foot, isn't it? That's going to really press us. Mitch, what do you see?
I'll go with 6, where we beat United and West Ham and lose Chelsea.
Yeah, that'll put us in good nick.
That we'd be far from a bad place in that, especially. I think United's really, really big. Like, if we win against United and West Ham, it puts us in a really, really good spot to like get close to guaranteeing 5th, which is like the lowest we should finish. I mean, I predicted preseason for us to finish 6th. So like anything above that is overachievement in my eyes. If we finish 6th at this point, I'd be very disappointed. Like, outside the top 4 would be like disappointing, but not like a failure. Outside of the top 5, and like if we didn't make Europa League, that would be kind of on the failure end. But I don't want to think that. I don't want to get to that point.
Do you think there's been too much emphasis placed on this Champions League qualification, which at the beginning of the season wasn't even on the table? We weren't even going to get close. We had 3 defeats on the bounce, and then we get this good run, and then suddenly everyone's saying that the season's finished if we don't get Champions League.
I think there's too much emphasis in the fact that some people are saying that the season's finished if we don't get it. I think there's too much emphasis to people saying that Arteta should get sacked if we don't get it. Like there's like clearly a plan with this team, and it's a long-term plan. And I don't think Champions League next season was part of that plan. I think it would be an overachievement if we got Champions League for next season. I think we're still very much on track with this project. If we qualify for the Europa League, we will have made a clear progress in the league, and then we can go and make some signings, and then we're got more of our full team, and then can challenge for fourth or third or higher next season. And I think I don't think anyone that says Arteta should be fired. Anyone that says Arteta should be fired if we don't make Champions League has unreasonable expectations. It's very difficult to do that. Like what Wenger did for such a long time to be able to like consistently qualify for the Champions League was very difficult in that era of the Premier League. And now it's getting even tougher with more and more teams being really, really good. Like teams like West Ham have been really formidable last couple of years. In 1, maybe 2 years, we're going to be talking about a big 7 with Newcastle being part of it. They're making very intelligent. They're not doing all the dumbass transfers that most teams when they get money do. Like they're making really intelligent signings, and it's going to be sooner rather than later that we're talking about them in the same conversation of competing with them for Champions League spots. And so it's getting harder and harder to achieve this. If we achieve it, it's a great achievement. If we don't, again, it's not a failure. If we're lower than 5th, we have a different conversation. But the people that are like, if Arteta doesn't finish 4th, he's done. Like that's not how. I don't think that's how anyone in the higher ups of Arsenal are thinking.
Well, the social media didn't disappoint again this week. Jay, you pointed out to me about Alexandre Lacazette went public. A bit of a strange one, wasn't it? Really, I'm in discussion with a lot of clubs. I'm open. I want to play European football. I never cut contact with Leon since I left. I try to go back to the club once or twice a year. Leon, no, I'm free. We'll see. It's the timing. Your club is going through a bad spell, and you're the club captain by default, I guess. But then you come out and do this. What did you make of it? At least he scored 1 goal there. It was an own goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't the best, but to be honest, we need to. I don't know. It didn't bother me as much as maybe some other people because he's just not going to be here next season. So I'm only concerned about the players that are going to be here next season, and that's why I had a real issue with Nketiah being included earlier in the season. He's not going to be here next season. Didn't bother me at all. I just wanted to add just to what Mitch said about the Champions League. I think the natural disappointment is if we miss out, it's because the position we were in was so good, wasn't it? At one point, it wasn't too long ago. We were in a really strong position, and nobody expected it to be in the Champions League next season. Well, at the start of the season, nobody really expected us to be where we are, and I think it's just a position where we were and where we got ourselves into. That's where the disappointment comes from. But if we miss out, look, it's probably going to be to Spurs, and they're not great, are they? So it's the double kicker, isn't it? It's the like we should be. There's not much between the two teams. Neither of us are great. United look a shambles, and if we're going to miss out, it's probably going to be to them, isn't it? To Spurs. So that's the double kick in the bollocks. But No, yeah, I know I'm coming across very sort of negative, but it's difficult to find the positivity at the, for me anyway. You know, we have been good this season, and I haven't forgotten any of that. It's just this current rut we're in at the moment. Like I said, for me, it's just going to take just something lucky to happen or fortunate to happen. And you never know. You know, the Chelsea game, it might happen, but I wasn't asked about what Lacazette said because, to be honest, he hasn't been a big player for us recently, has he? He hasn't been putting it in. We haven't relied upon him. If you actually read the full article, you know, the Champions League comment he made, it wasn't as bad as it was being made out to seem. He was basically saying he just wants to play Champions League, like everybody does. You know, we all want the club to play Champions League, and I'm sure he does. He's been a good servant to us, and he did a good job for us earlier in the season. And when he leaves, I wish him all the best. But that interview, it wasn't as bad as it was being made out. And all the comments, or a lot of the comments, were by people that hadn't actually read it. And go and read the interview, and then comment, because it wasn't anywhere near as, you know, he certainly didn't slag off the club. He didn't slag off the manager. He didn't slag off any of the players. He just said he wanted to play Champions League, which is fair enough.
Here's one, Gooner Talk on Twitter. If you think, because there was a kind of, I don't know, it's really weird. Suddenly Unai Emery got mentioned with, you know, we got rid of him too quickly and all that sort of thing. Gooner Talk says, if you think sacking Unai Emery was a mistake because of one good result against Bayern, you need a reality check. When we sacked him, we were behind Sheffield United and Burnley in the table. This season, he has Villarreal in 7th. Last season, they were 7th. And the season before that, he was 5th.
Yeah.
So
I think
before he arrived, they were higher.
Yeah. I mean, I think Unai Emery is one of the best knockout tournament managers in the world. I think if he managed a national team, he would be absolutely incredible. However, I just don't like this like revision with him and like with all of our former players.
It's desperate.
That like there's some sort of agenda for. There's always this revision. There's always this Guendouzi did nothing wrong. And it's like, that's not true. Oh, Unai Emery was so good. No, he wasn't. Did you watch Arsenal during Unai Emery? Like Aubameyang was unfair. Like, no, none of this is true. And also people just don't realize that like just because a player is succeeding in an environment does not mean that they should have succeeded elsewhere. Because Aubameyang is scoring for Barcelona doesn't mean that he was going to score for Arsenal in the back half of the season. Because Guendouzi is playing well for Marseille in League One doesn't mean it was a bad idea for Arteta to get rid of him. Because Unai Emery beat Bayern in the Champions League and won the Europa League last season doesn't mean it was a bad idea for Arsenal to get rid of him. All of these things I think were really good decisions by Arsenal. And yet whenever we see a player that used to play for us be successful somewhere else, a part of our fan base just melts down as this like mechanism of slandering our like their own club. Like what are you getting out of this? What is the point to be like, well, Aubameyang's actually good now? And it's like, well, no, he's doing the same thing that he was doing with us. It's just under a different context. He's getting more chances. He's still not a great striker of the ball, and he's still missing chances. He's just getting a lot more in a probably easier league. And yeah, so it looks a lot better on paper. Guendouzi is playing in a different league. He's fallen out with like 3 different managers he's had in his career. Arteta is not an isolated example of that. Same with Aubameyang. He had issues with former managers at Dortmund, and like there's just so much of this just agenda that just loves to come out when we start losing, and it just does not make sense.
I've got a really good one here for all the management hoppers.
It's a really great way to find out which accounts you should mute on Twitter. And so like I love when some guy makes like a huge thread And it's like, this is every stackable offense Arteta's done, and then tags a bunch of accounts that helped him at the end. I'm like, great, you just gave me a great list of accounts that I can just mute forever, and I never have to hear from or see again. Thank you, guy.
You know, in relation, just one more thing about Emery. You know, like I was happy for him. I was pleased for him that he got that result. And
can we be happy for our former people?
Exactly.
That would be great.
He was just. It was always going to be difficult for anybody. The successor to Arsene, wasn't it? It was always going to be tough. He took the job on. He's not a bad guy, and he was ridiculed for the way he spoke. But he's a good coach. He's a very successful coach. And when he got that result against Bayern, I was genuinely happy for him. And I think most people that have got their head screwed on was actually applauding him and quietly happy and pleased that he got that result. So fair play. I hope I can't see him getting any further, but to beat that Bayern team with that Villarreal team, that is a big result, over those two.
Funnily enough, the only way that he gets into a European competition next season is by winning the Champions League. It's the only way Villarreal is playing European ball next season. Like, that's crazy that you guys are using that to slander Arteta. That makes a lot of sense. And then also just like support former players. Like, there's nothing unlikable about Callum Chambers or Aubameyang or Emi Martinez or Unai Emery of them succeeding elsewhere. Like, there's easily players that you can have like ill content for after they leave. Like, I am not a huge Mesut Ozil fan because how he left left a bad taste in my mouth. But he was a great player when he played for Arsenal. But like, it does not make sense of like why people just continually do this to just like, because players are going to leave a club just constantly. Players will constantly come and leave Arsenal. And if you're following every single one that leaves just to like make up something that suits your thing, like Saliba constantly gets thrown into this, and it's just like, where are you getting this from? Like, what's convincing you of this like fake? Like with all the Lacazette stuff this week, like people were saying that he and Arteta have fallen out. It's like, what evidence are you using? Mm-hmm. What's your source? Like, do people need sources to say anything anymore? Or are you just like in your little fantasy land? Like,
it's just speculation, isn't it? When you're on
he had COVID, and then maybe he was seen at a restaurant, according to this Twitter account that doesn't have a profile picture. Mm-hmm. So that definitely means that Arteta ousted 2 captains in one season, and maybe something did happen. Who knows? None of us know. If you're speculating with no information, then you're just an idiot. Mm-hmm. And it's probably John.
We'll get to him in a minute. Got one from Arnie Arneson at Arsenal Fans Forum, just for all these managerial hoppers, the ones that want to get this person in, that person in. Just says that Klopp has been a manager for 19 years, has been relegated. His first trophy came after 10 years. I haven't factually looked this up. I couldn't be bothered. Conte has been manager for 17 years. His first trophy came after 5. Tuchel was a manager for 16 years. His first trophy came after 8. So kind of like, be careful where you're jumping. And it's an object lesson in that these people need time to make the foundation of success. That's what this guy is trying to say. Pep kind of throws it out the window a bit, has been manager for 15 years, and his first trophy came in his first year. And Arteta, manager for 2 years, first trophy came in 7 months. So
exactly,
now we get to John.
The direct parallel. Okay, so this is the official It's an Arsenal Thing podcast stance. Arteta is Pep. No one else has anything to say. Cool. We're going to proceed with that. How do you feel about that, John?
Well, now then, pin back your ears for this, because he's having a proper go. Last week, if you didn't see us or hear us, we had John Kay basically saying that we should wake up and smell the coffee, something along those lines. He's back. He says, it sounds like you Muppets like mediocrity and are happy to back this overhyped apprentice until he makes us mid-table. It's sad that you three have no ambition for the club. John. Jay, pick up on that one.
Well, look, I think we will all agree. If it goes catastrophically wrong this season in the remaining games and we drop out of Europe altogether, which is still a possibility, then I think there is a conversation to be had about, you know, I think things will have to change. I'm not saying the manager has to change, but I think, I don't know. I think there are maybe a few conversations that will need to be had, because I think to miss out on Europe altogether after the investment that the Cronkies have put in would be, you know, we haven't progressed, and that's all we want to see as supporters, right? You just want to see progression, you want to see improvement, and you want to see, you don't want to be stagnant. And if that is the case, worst case scenario, then I don't know. It's I don't want to say you get rid of the manager, because I know he's not going to go. I know he's not going to get sacked. I know he's not going to get booted out. And I know he's going to be the manager next season regardless. However, I understand people's frustration. I'm frustrated. I'm sure we're all frustrated at losing football matches. We're all frustrated at not being able to beat teams like Southampton, with all due respect to them, to beat your Brightons and to beat your Crystal Palaces, because of the investment, and also because of the stature of the club that we are, because we're Arsenal Football Club. You know, I'm not saying we are, we should just expect success. We have to work for it. But at the end of the day, if we come up short at the end of the season, it's tough. It's tough to back the manager if we don't get Europe at all. Now, for me, if we finish 6th, I think I predicted 6th. I'd take 6th now, to be perfectly honest, because I'd see we're in a really difficult position. If we finish 6th, we're in the Europa League, and for me, just for me personally, that is improvement, because the season before we were 8th and we didn't get anything. We didn't get any European football. Now, if we get into the Champions League, it's the total opposite end of the spectrum. Like, there can't be any more of this Arteta out, because he will be the one that's at the he's the manager. You know, it will be down to him, as well as the players that we've ended up in the Champions League and in the top 4. So they're the three outcomes for me that look. I really don't know how any Arsenal supporter at the moment can be that final about the manager, because we've been decent this season. We've been not very good this season. We've gone out of the cups early. That's unlike us. We all love an FA Cup run. It's been good to us as supporters, the FA Cup in recent years. It was crap going out to Forest in the 3rd round. Forest are a decent team, don't get me wrong, but we're Arsenal Football Club and we're better than that. League Cup, we did okay in that, but we went out to Liverpool, ended up winning. You know, no disgrace in going out to Liverpool. However, the FA Cup was a big disappointment. It's, you know, let's just wait and see where we are at the end of the season before we make any of these comments. Because some of the, you know, these kind of views, get rid of the manager. Who comes in? You know, who do you get? Who's, because then we have to start again, and we have to clear out the players that manager doesn't want, and then you have to, you know, you sell Ben White or you sell Gabriel, and it's just, you're starting again. You know, we've got to see it through. You know, but I do understand the frustration of supporters, because we're all frustrated, aren't we? You know, but let's just wait and see. We're not out of it. You know, Spurs are crap. You know. They're crap. We're crap at the moment. United are crap, but let's see who's the slightly better version of crap.
I don't think that John can actually say that we've got no ambition for the club. I mean, myself, I was brought up as a kid supporting Arsenal. I go back to 1970. So, and I've had that long stretch where there was no success. Had to suffer all that and stuck with them through thick and thin. And this is no different. This is no different for me. I want them to win. I want them to win everything that's going, even if it was fucking tiddlywinks. But, you know, let's get some perspective. We've cleared out. We've had to knuckle down and start again. There's been years of stagnation and waste and poor recruitment, bad spending, and then the no direction. We've had all that. So, John, don't start preaching to us about having no ambition, because we've been there. We've suffered it. And if you're an Arsenal fan that's been there as well, then you've suffered it with us. But
just to add to what you
do that.
Just to add to what you're saying, whilst all that's going on, those in and around us have got better. They've got their recruitment have got better. Your Leicesters have got better. Your West Hams have got better. Your Wolves have got better. And we've been dropping and we've took our eye off the ball a little bit in certain areas, and they have got much better quickly. And we've suffered now. We've had to catch up. You could argue that a club the size of us, we shouldn't, those mistakes shouldn't be made, but they have, and I mean, let's just wait and see until the final game of the season, the final whistle. Let's see where we end up, and then the decisions can be made, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, I think there's multiple reasons. Like, I'm someone who's going to be backing the manager no matter who it is. It could be the club could bring in Jose Mourinho, and as much as I hate Jose Mourinho, I would still back him. It would pain me. I would do it through gritted teeth, but I wouldn't be whining like a little gremlin after every single loss. And I think you're blind if you don't see just a clear, our favorite word, progress with the club. I think it's been very apparent, especially with people being reminiscent over the last couple of weeks about the Unai Emery era, of like the state that not only results were in, but just like the culture. I mean, there was that Ornstein report on Monday about how there was outside analysts brought in to revamp the Arsenal way. I think a lot of people read those headlines and thought it was like happening now, and it's like that was clearly a thing that's been happening for a long time. To try to get the club closer to the history and kind of revamp the entire culture, which I think we've done a really good job of. I think you can see it from not only performances, but just how players act about the club, how the fans are at matches. Like, you don't get any of this like weirdness, this little like I started calling Arteta outers gremlins before the pod, and now I'm kind of into doing it. But you don't see these like little gremlins at games where like we lose and like the away side, the away fans are still there like cheering on the team. Like, no, like the fans and players are very connected right now, especially the ones that are going to matches. And like there's a clear progress that's been made. We've seen that with the results, and we are going to continue to see it with the results. I do not think we will finish outside of Europe this season. That is my prediction. I don't like making predictions, but there's a prediction for you. We won't finish outside Europe this season. And I'm speaking Europa League or Champions League. Conference League, whatever that is. And then also, last thing, there's like very little that like helps a team in like the short run of like sacking a manager. Fans are very fickle. Owners can be very fickle. Players can be very fickle. And the easiest thing to change when you feel like you need change, when things are going right, easiest thing to do is a manager. Like, the manager is the easiest thing to just cut off and just like be like, well, we're changing. And we're seeing that with Burnley, who fired Sean Dyche last week. Very surprising move from Burnley, who's firing one of the best managers in the Premier League, in Sean Dyche. Someone that's kept them in the league continually, despite being the smallest budget team. Their record transfer is £15 million. That is, I don't think there's a single player on Arsenal's, like, our only player that started last match that we bought for less than that is Nuno Tavares. Like, that's crazy. And he's one of the best managers in the world, but in the league, and they fired him because they're just looking for something different. They're like, oh, we keep losing, something's going wrong, let's just change something. And managers are the easiest thing to change, but have probably the littlest impact on just short-term results, because there's so much change that has to be done. Like Jay said, where let's say we fire Ted at the end of the year, we bring in someone else, there's all of a sudden we have to start this progress all over again. We have to like get rid of all these players to suit different styles and stuff like that. And it puts a halt to all the progress that we've had since Arteta took over, of which that I think is going to be really successful in the long run. I think that I can confidently say that I think we will be firmly in the Champions League spaces next season, maybe further up, and can potentially make a long run in the Europa League. We made a good run in the Europa League last season with a worse team, so I imagine that we beef up our squad a little bit in the summer. We would actually, I feel like the Europa League would be a pretty good place for us if we're being realistic. I know it's painful because we want to be in the Champions League. It's been so long since we've been in the Champions League, but like we've talked about these youth players. I mean, Europa League group matches are a great place to give players their debut. We saw that with Saka, we saw that with Smith Rowe, and we can easily see it with all of these young guys that are coming through Hale End. With such a young squad, might not be the worst place for us to be. And it really doesn't make sense to look at all of this through such a little gremlin lens, John. Maybe don't be a gremlin. That's my suggestion.
I think John's got to appreciate that other people have got other ideas, other perspectives, and they look at it slightly differently. John looks at it from whatever view John looks at it, and that's cool. That's not a problem. But don't disrespect other people when they've got their opinions and they're being objective, rather than trying to blow the whole project up and out of the water. It's going to be this season what it's going to be, and then we'll move on from there. Anyway,
I didn't realize you'd be playing the high road. I wouldn't have called him a gremlin if you were playing the high road. I decided to go for the gut shot and call him sad and call him a gremlin. So
God knows what we'll put on there next week on that poster. Something else entirely different. Rhymes with banker, probably. Anyway, we've got 3 bits left. We're going to talk about the coefficient ranking by UEFA. Jay, I sent you the thing. What do you make of it? Is it another attempt to get the Super League going again in a different form? Wolf in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, it looks like that, doesn't it? I read about it a couple of weeks ago. Doesn't look good. They should just leave the Champions League the way it is, shouldn't they? Group stages. What is it next season? It's going to be one league, isn't it? One huge league table rather than group stages.
I think it's 23-24 when that's happening. That's with like the coefficient thing, which is just not great.
No, just leave it as it is. But yeah, they'll ultimately the big clubs will get what they want eventually, and you just hope that we're part of it. Ultimately, I know it's not great, but yeah, it's just try and get in there.
This 10-year thing, isn't it? Where did they pluck that from? We're going to get everyone who's been successful for 10 years.
Yeah, it's just UEFA.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just another example of just cash is king. Like money talks. Even like the only way that change.
I'm singing that song in my head now.
The only way change actually happens is via money. Like Abramovich was never going to sell Chelsea unless there was like financial sanctions that happened. In American football, the Washington football team was never going to change their name from something racist unless sponsors started stepping away because it was bad look for them. Like money talks with everything and everything. Yeah, just finish sentence there. And so if like Man United's being like, oh, we're in for a rough couple of years, we're not even getting that Champions League money. Well, I mean, if our coefficient did a little heavy lifting for us and we could finish 6th and still make the Champions League, that'd be great. Yeah, I mean, like it sucks, but like it's the direction it's going. Yeah. I don't like it at all. I would frankly, I think I saw like something for like a proposal of like a new Super League, and like honestly, wasn't bad. Like you take away like the part about the Super League where like it was just set teams, and it was like not a terrible proposal to like have like just the best and having it be like a higher standard kind of thing with more money in it for the teams, whatever. But having teams make a tournament based on merit without the merit to make it ruins the like sanctity of your tournament. If like it's no longer the Champions League, it's I don't know, Like, I don't have something witty. Damn. Sorry. I wish I wish I had a good pun or something, but I don't. It just makes it a lot worse.
Guys,
it's a shame to see that.
We've got to push past this one because I've got heaps of paper here and we'll try and condense that down.
We're gonna have a 2-hour pod tonight.
Yeah, I know. But all good stuff. So can't grumble at that. The Xhaka film, did you see it? What did you make of it?
Really great. I don't think he's a player we've seen enough like talking about like everything. I think probably the first time that we've seen him talk about that whole incident a couple of years ago against Palace when he got subbed off. And you know, it's just a really just like honest look from him about that time and like about relationships with fans and players and how I think we have a tendency as fans to kind of forget that players are human beings. When you start going after someone's family for a bad performance or for someone playing the way that they've always played, of just a very passionate player, red cards are going to happen apparently, according to him. And like, yeah, okay, this is part of Granit Xhaka. This is something you're going to get. And it's really inhuman to go after someone's wife and child, no matter how you feel about that. Like, I'm not a fan of Cristiano Ronaldo, but what happened to him and his newborn child is awful and heartbreaking. And anyone that will take someone playing a children's game for money, and then attack their family online is a gremlin. They're a gremlin.
It's not a gremlin, isn't it?
We're just got a grouping of gremlins, and John's the leader. So, you know, it was a really, really good, honest reflection from him of just the whole time. And it seems like he really wants to connect with the fans. It also kind of left the door open of a good chance that he stays around next season, which I would be over the moon about if he stayed. I think it would create a lot of stability, especially if we bring in more midfielders and we're not necessarily forced to have him play every week. I know you wouldn't be the hugest fan of him staying another year, Jay, but I there's a reason that Granit Xhaka has played under 3 managers and been virtually undroppable under all 3. And it's because he's a dependable player.
Yeah.
Other than his Granit Xhaka dumbass moments, TM, he's a very dependable player, and having him around, especially with such a young team, like he was by far the oldest player on the pitch this weekend. I think would be very, very beneficial. He's a real leadership presence without wearing the captain's armband, and I think the players respect him. Obviously, the manager respects him, and I think it's about time that the fans start to too.
I think we've had our problems with him, Jay, haven't we, for the dumbass moments, as Mitch says. But here's the strange thing: Wenger, Emery, Ljungberg, Arteta, and also Mourinho. Mourinho rates him highly as well, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So there must be something we just don't get. But is it a fact that Arsenal's midfield has been blessed, doesn't it, over the years? And then you get Granit Xhaka coming as like a round peg in a square hole. He doesn't seem to fit. He doesn't fit with the creativity that we're after, and he doesn't really fit with the defensive person that we kind of want. We want that Vieira type. Is he a victim of that he just didn't fit and he was after all these really top quality midfielders, Jay?
Well, I mean, Mitch covered it perfectly. I don't disagree with anything Mitch said then about Xhaka. Not one, but he's reliable. I just think we could do better. That's all. He's this season, I think we've seen a lot less of that like petulant side to him. I think he's dare I say he's grown up a bit, and he's led the team, and he's realised that he's the senior man, because you know we all wanted Thomas Partey to be that, but maybe in and around the training ground, Partey isn't that influential midfielder, as in from a from a footballing sense he is, but maybe in the changing room and on the training ground, Thomas Partey's a little bit quieter, and Xhaka quickly worked out that he's the louder voice, and he's leading the team from that point of view. So look, I don't disagree with anything. Mitch nailed it perfectly. I mean, him getting attacked, you know, his family getting attacked and whatever, that's just, I mean, come on, like, who are these people? You know, I mean, for a long time, especially Twitter, you know, large amounts of people have been calling for better sort of authentication, you know, not being able to create faceless accounts so you can just attack these people, get blocked, and then create another one. I know that's just, I suppose that's a story for another day, but until that happens, it's always going to happen, unfortunately, and it's not right. We all agree on that. It's just, but if he stayed, great. I can't see it, but if he does, then great, because this season he has, you know, he's been a lot more reliable and a lot more dependable. And look, we have needed him, and when he's not in the midfield, we do notice it. And look, and I'm not his biggest fan, but you do notice when he's not playing, or when he's not in there, or when he's been moved out to the left side of defence. So I thought it was a good interview. He's an honest guy. I'm just never going to be a huge fan of his. That's all. Just me personally. But you can't deny what, you know, the improvement that we've seen in him this season. Absolutely no doubt about that.
It's kind of weird, isn't it? Because we're all having a go about his cards when he gets them, but he's only got them on 5 occasions. Martin Keown had 6. Patrick Vieira had 8. Yeah, we didn't kind of turn against them, did we? Vieira did some terrible things, didn't he? Throat grabbing and pushing and shoving and all that sort of thing. We know that Xhaka's kind of a hothead, but it's weird the way we perceive him differently, and it's kind of interesting why that is. I'm with you, Jay. I don't see the type of player that I want to see in an Arsenal shirt. Even though he's changed roles, he's in a more advanced position. That suits him. And let's remember, Thomas Partey came to the club wanting to play with Granit Xhaka. Mitch, your point?
Yeah, I think that time has a big thing to do with it. I think, for one, there was no, there wasn't as big of a social media presence when Vieira and Keown are getting sent off, so you don't hear about it as much on a bigger scale. Also, those players were part of the Invincibles. Like Vieira got sent off during the Invincible season against Man United. Twitter would have blown its shit up if that happened. If that was the thing, during that run. Like, people were like, Wenger's so we can go unbeaten, and then Vieira's just throwing it away. What is he doing? And it's the same. Like, I think the just voice is louder. I'm sure there was many people in their living rooms during that game. It's like, what the hell's Vieira doing? What an idiot! And then also just like during the good times, like those were like when we're winning titles and stuff like that. And so people naturally, like when we're kind of losing a little bit more, they have less of a patience with someone who tends to get sent off a little bit, and because of that has a little bit of a reputation with the refs. And you know, I think trying to put Xhaka and comparing him to Vieira is kind of a round peg in a square hole. I think it's just we as Arsenal fans want players to be the next blank. We want Martinelli to be the next Henry. We want Thomas Partey or Granit Xhaka to be the next Vieira, and that's. I think we need to let our players be Granit Xhaka, be Thomas Partey, be Gabriel Martinelli, rather than. I think it's easy to kind of fit these players into molds and profiles. I
think we can do better though than Xhaka. We must agree.
Yeah, on that. For sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
I'm a huge advocate that we should upgrade on him in the summer. I don't think he should be starting game in and game out. But if we can keep him around next season, especially with more matches, huge fan of that because of the presence that he brings. If we could bring someone who's a little bit more athletic on the ball and can do a lot more in that more advanced position, but also still having a little bit of defensive stability, I think that would be absolutely key. But I also am a big fan of keeping him around another season if he is open to that idea.
The interesting thing again is Xhaka regularly tops the stats for progressive passing, for his consistency and all that sort of stuff, even though I've got to be honest, I don't always see it. I don't always see what everyone says, and stats only tell a certain percentage of the story. My point is that when you've got someone like Santi Cazorla, and everyone loves, it's a hard act to follow when you're a midfielder and you're kind of in the mix of Joe Bloggs and all these other people. You know, you haven't got your Jack Wilshers anymore, you haven't got your Santis, and we just haven't really clicked with Granit Xhaka. Chaps, I think we'll have to close that one down. Transfer rumours in 6 words or less. We're nearly done. Well done, sticking with it. Eden Zagrova, 23. From Lille. Anyone know of him? Yeah, what do you think of that, Jay? What would you do in 6 words or less?
He looks good on YouTube. That's all I know. He looks good. Like he does look a good player, but like I say, I haven't seen enough of him. But he looks decent.
Well, it's described as the Messi of the Balkans, right and a left winger. Tricky footwork, amazing close control. I saw that much on YouTube. Plenty of pace, said to be around 11 million, although transfermarket.co.uk have him down at 3.6. Mitch, what's your 6 words or less?
I'd rather have a different Lille player. I'm going to cheat.
We've over-egged it.
Yeah, I mean, if I have any player from Lille, I want Jonathan David. I've been a big fan of his for a long time. Really good striker. And then if I want a winger, I'm going to be a homer and say I want Tim Weah. Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too much of him outside of just like comps that I've seen on Twitter and on YouTube. Seems like a very talented player. I saw a tweet today calling him a wonder kid, and he's like 22. It's like, that seems a little old to be calling him a wonder kid, but seems like a very good player. Yeah, I don't know. If for that cheap, I'd be far from against that kind of signing. It wouldn't be like signing a certain player from Lille who is really good on the ball and a really good dribbler, and then spending 70 million for him. I don't know who I'm talking about there. I have no player in my mind that I'm talking about. But
yeah, you're just making this stuff up now, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is like a hypothetical world where Arsenal would spend 75 million on a winger from Lille. We've never
My
done
6
that.
words or less was, where does he fit? Another winger? Do we need a winger?
Yeah, I think so. I think we need to. I think aforementioned Lille winger leaves in the summer, and we need to bring in cover for Xhaka. We were talking about him being probably tired earlier from playing as many games. There's going to be even more games with Europe next season. I think we need to bring in someone who can play comfortably on both sides and can cover. I think the strongest link we've seen is Gakpo from PSV. I've seen multiple sources linking us to him. Seems like a very talented player and a potential player who can play up top, which if we're signing 2 strikers in the summer, which is kind of what it's looking towards with both of the strikers on our current lineup leaving, I would love a second player that can play other positions. Obviously, the high end of that is like João Felix, who can kind of play as a second striker or play on the wing. But Cody Gakpo seems like a player that has a lot of the tools to play striker, but will be primarily used as a winger.
Right, what about this one? Hoffenheim's Florian Grillitsch, 26, free transfer, attacking mid, defensive mid, and a fullback on the left or the right. Jay, what do you make of that one?
Seems like an Arsenal signing. It seems like very versatile. And if he's on a free, then yeah. I don't really know too much about him, but it does seem like a kind of an Arsenal signing, like a signing sort of built towards having European football next season. Somebody who could just slot into a number of different positions when needed. And obviously everyone likes a freebie. So
very powerful player, very powerful looking, very determined in the tackle as well. Bit of an ankle nibbler. Mitch?
Yeah, we seem to like players that can play a variety of different roles. He's 25, I think, so a little bit older than the age range we were looking in the summer. I'm wondering if that'll shift up a little bit, if we're going to be looking a little bit older at some of the players we signed this summer, especially as we're looking for more depth that can play in European matches and stuff like that. From the very limited scope that I have on the player, seems like could be a decent signing, especially for free.
I'm all over this. I could see him fitting into an Arsenal side like yourselves, doing a job in various areas, and I think it adds a little bit of depth to the squad because we're still, even after this next transfer window, we're going to be short because we've had to get rid of so many. We've got some new blood coming through. We need to balance now. We're at that stage where we need to balance. The last one is, hey, look, they're all cheering. The last one is Brazilian Danilo, 20 from Palmeiras. Central mid, attacking mid and defensive mid, who's been described as a complete midfielder capable of playing in any defensive midfield or as a box-to-box player. 19.8 million, according to our friends at transfermarket.co.uk. Jay, seen anything of him?
No, not really. But I mean, if there is any truth in it, you like to think that Edu is, he's all over it. So seems like a bit unlikely, to buy straight from Brazil. But you never know.
I mean, we did with Gabby. We bought from the fourth division with Gabby, and he's in the first division. He's one of the better teams in Brazil. We were linked with him in January, and I was kind of excited about the prospect of signing him then. And obviously that didn't happen. But I think, young player playing for a top Brazilian side. I asked one of my friends that follows the league a little more closely what he thought about him when we were linked in January. He said as far as he knew, he was a pretty decent player. I mean, from everything I've seen, he looks like a really good player, and seems like he can play a variety of roles within the midfield. 20 years old, very good age for bringing in to play some sort of role for us next season. I actually really would like that signing in the midfield.
I put interesting target, versatile midfielder, and that's exactly what we're going to be looking for to top it all up. Chaps, Chelsea tomorrow. I'm going to make a prediction. I'm afraid it's 2-1 to Chelsea. I think we're going to get a goal, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think they're too strong for us, to be honest. I wish I was wrong. I'd like to. My heart says one thing, my head says another. I'd like to see us win 1-0 from here, but the head says 2-1. Jay,
I think you're spot on. I'd love to. I mean, I just can't see us even scoring. I think Chelsea are too good. Love to be wrong, but I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think we're gonna lose 2-0. I obviously don't want that, but
Mitch has pulled his jumper up. It's almost like he's going to hide.
Yeah,
hide away from the prediction.
What's going on? I mean, I'd love to hide away a prediction, but I already kind of predicted earlier when I said we get 6 points, and it wasn't against Chelsea. So yeah, I think it'll probably be a loss. But like I was saying, I do think that we have the ability, we have the strength in our squad to be able to pull this one out. We can win this game. I hope our players have the same mentality where they think that we can win this game no matter what. If they don't, we're in trouble. We're not making top four. If our players are going into any match and saying we can't win this, then we're not getting top four. We need to go into every single match thinking we can win this. And Chelsea isn't Liverpool or City. They're definitely fallible. So it's a winnable game, like every single game.
But last week we all said we were going to win. We were going to beat Southampton.
I've said we're going to win every.
We're going to lose.
I've said we're going to win every.
We're going to win.
Yeah.
It's just the only germ of hope is that Chelsea have really sucked on occasion this season, and they've managed to just get through it. So if hopefully they will suck tomorrow night and we'll get a result. But anyway, guys, I've kept you long enough. Thanks ever so much for your input. It's been great. John, God knows what's going to appear next week on that wall. But get your act together, John.
Across my entire wall that I don't own. So look forward to that.
All right, lads. Cheers.
Bye-bye.